Welcome to GoPowerCat.com's Friday Shootaround, sponsored by Riverbank Brewing. Now, let's head into the studio.
Welcome back in here to the Friday Shootaround on Go Power Cat. I am Ryan Gilbert, joined as always by former Kansas State guard Clint Stewart. Clint, I'm not sure how much fun this one's going to be. K-State's on a 4-game losing streak. We'll break down the Arizona State loss from last Sunday as well as the UCF loss from Wednesday. Clint, you go on the road into Orlando and you start the way that you do. I think you just kind of create an uphill battle, and that was, the way that you kind of set the tone for your energy. That lasts for a full 40 minutes. K-State made it close against the Knights, but slow starts on the road, man. You can't have those. Yeah,
it's tough. It's amazing how the game of basketball, right? You can be on top of the world, right? First, you can be at the bottom, right, where we kind of were. And we go to the top of the world and winning 6 straight and feeling really good about where we're at and what we're doing and kind of heading on an upward trajectory. And all of a sudden, the way the game flows is, things don't fall your way. A few different opportunities don't go the way you want them to. And you're right back to kind of square one, obviously losing our last 4 and kind of on the outside in now, obviously looking at the NCAA tournament unless we win the Big 12 tournament. But, when you start slow, especially on the road, it's really tough to battle back. Like I said, you got to just expend so much energy to get back in the basketball game. And you saw Coach Tang talked a little bit about that. At some point in time, the players have to be ready to play, and obviously it's the coach's job to get them ready to play. But one thing that I know is being a head coach for 10 years that I fully came to understand is coaches can't play the game, right? So coaches can prepare you. Coaches can give you every tool that you need or every strategy that you might need to put you in the best position to win. But players make plays, players win games, right? And so even throughout the course of the year, there might be a handful of times where a coach can really influence the game kind of towards the end with a drawn up play or, a certain strategy at the end of the game that actually that's the reason why we won. Most of the times the players just go and make plays. And even the coach draws something up, the players got to go execute it, right? And so it doesn't matter what the coach does if the players can execute it. And so I think that's what Coach Tang is pointing to is, players got to make plays. Players got to be ready to play. He knows he owns just as much as that as the coach, making sure that they're ready to play. But at the end of the day, the players are the ones that win basketball games. It's always like that. Doesn't matter at what level you're at. I coach my son's team and he plays. And then I'll tell you, we went, I think 9-1 this season. Well, my son played pretty well. If he didn't play pretty well, we wouldn't have went 9-1. I'll just say that. It doesn't matter how much I yelled at him, how much I tried to say, hey, do this or do that. They're 6 years old. He has to go make some shots for us to win. And he did it. I was like, thank you for doing that. Right. So it doesn't matter whether you're that level, whether you're high school, whether it's college, whether it's the NBA. Obviously, the best teams that win in the NBA, usually the ones that have the best players, that have multiple players that can make plays. Look at the Thunder, a lot of young guys that they can play and make plays. We won't even talk about the Thunder. Most people probably don't know who's the Thunder's coach. Most probably don't even know. They just know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren. Right? Like the players make the plays, and then that's what Coach Tang is referencing to.
You don't always want to throw your players under the bus, but at sometimes it is warranted, right? And you got to have these guys held accountable. Did you like Tang's comments? Is that something that you think that Tang should maybe do more? Because basically, I think every game this year he's taken kind of the blame and taken the fall for these losses. But obviously, out in Orlando, it was a different message to the media.
Yeah, and I think he's obviously taken a lot of the onus on himself for most of the losses and not getting the team ready to play. And maybe it's one where he felt like, hey, I did what I was expected to do. I got us ready. We had a great strategy, great game plan, and unfortunately, our guys just didn't respond the way we needed them to on the floor. And so, now would I do it? I don't know what I would do. As far as different, maybe I don't say it to the media or not, and it doesn't matter what I would do. But but I think what it says the message is, the players have to be ready. And I'm sure not just to the media, he's telling them that every game. I mean, he's telling them that in practice, he's saying, hey, we got to come out ready to play. You guys have to make plays. You guys have to make sure that you're executing the game plan every single time out. And so obviously it shows a little bit of frustration, as we're all frustrated, right? I mean, if we're not frustrated, then something's not right. Like we're not expecting to win. Like we expect to win. And so we're frustrated that obviously of the outcome, which, is a little bit unexpected, but it's part of the game, and so I know he's frustrated because, we all wanted this season to go better than what it has. There's still some games left. You still got the Big 12 tournament that you got to go play well in, and hopefully we can do that. But it's just, I think, out of frustration is where a lot of that's coming.
I think we can maybe get on Doug McDaniel here in just a moment, but because that kind of goes hand in hand with Coleman Hawkins and how important that duo is. But just when you look at Hawkins alone, I don't want to give this team any sort of excuse. I don't want this team to seek comfort with the absence of just one player. But how much of the recent struggles have kind of just been a result of not having one of your best players, Coleman Hawkins?
Well, let's be candid here. And, there was a lot of scrutiny about Coleman Hawkins early on in the season. And then a lot of that I thought was, I won't say a lot. I think some of it might have been warranted, and I think some of it wasn't warranted, just as far as how he was playing. But, he really turned it around and really does so much for our team. When you talk about not only offensively but also defensively. But starting on the offensive side, teams double team him when he catches the ball on the block. So you look at a lot of the assists that he has or from him posting up and finding Gasson underneath the basket or kicking it out to someone for a three. He makes so many plays with the basketball in his hands, and teams have to gravitate towards how are they going to defend him just to make sure that he doesn't have an opportunity for himself. And he's so unselfish that he opens up the floor for everyone else, right? And then even on the defensive side, his length, being able to block shots at the rim, clog up the paint. We miss some of that as well. And then it makes things so much easier for other guys like Doug McDaniel. You put those two guys in a two-man game, and defenses really have to decide how they want to defend it, especially with Coleman being able to step out and shoot the basketball from, throwbacks or pick and pop opportunities. And so not having him, I think you kind of saw, especially the first game against Arizona State, where our offense just looked very stagnant. I mean, we had a lot of guys. You can see a lot of guys were standing like with their hand out, like, hey, just give me the ball. And then in second half, Tang switched it up. We went to more continuity handoff with cutter action, kind of four guards, one post, just so we could get the ball from side to side to side, then kind of get into some ball screen action. Because this stuff, like, hey, handouts, hey, just give me the ball. That's what I do in like pickup game. Like, that's pickup basketball. Like, I'm playing with a bunch of guys. Just give me the ball, man. I'll go make a play. Like, that's pickup basketball. And so you could see our guys were just a little bit lost in not having Coleman Hawkins on the floor, someone that we play offense through, right, and just makes it easier for everyone else.
Doug has obviously taken a step back. How much of that, as of late, has been a result of not having Hawkins?
Yeah, well, I think Doug, if you look at our 6-game winning streak, Doug scored 20 points, I think, in 2 of them, and he had 15 or more in 4 out of the 6 games. All right, so 15 or more points, 4 out of 6. The 2 games he did not. One was Oklahoma State. Okay, he could have scored 0 points. We beat him by 30, right? Then the other one was Arizona State. I think he had 7, and that was a close game, right? And we probably needed him to score a little bit more. Luckily, we came out on the winning side. So we went 6-0 in that stretch. He had 15 or more in 4 out of them. If you look at over the season, we're 6-2 when he scores 15 points. And so for him to be aggressive, now some of that aggressiveness happens because you have Hawkins out there on the floor, which makes it easier for Doug to navigate, get into spots to be able to score at the rim, but then also shooting the basketball from the outside. We're such a better team when he's a little bit more aggressive and looking to score, but not only looking to score, but actually scoring. Like, looking to score is one thing, but actually putting the ball through the hoop is another. And these last 2 games, he's been 0 for 9 from 3. He's shot his worst 2 games of the season. All right. So I think 28% and 17%. If you look through our stats, the only other 2 games that he shot that bad, one was Wichita State. He played 5 minutes. He was 0 for 3. Okay. That one doesn't count. Throw that out. The other one was Houston. He went 1 for 8, 12.5%, against Houston. We also got blown out. So he played his 2 worst games really of the season, 2 out of the 3 of the season without Hawkins, right? So it just shows you that we need Hawkins on the floor for Doug to be Doug and for him to perform well, and he has to go make shots. And we need him being aggressive, right? I mean, he's getting assists, which is good. 9 assists, great. 7 assists, that's great. But I think we need him also scoring the basketball because he's so dynamic, scoring the basketball even at the rim with his size for us to go win. And so hopefully over this week, obviously against Colorado and against Cincinnati, we're going to need him being aggressive and looking to score the basketball for us.
You mentioned the winning streak and the losing streak and how things have maybe been a little bit different for Doug. What about the overall effort, energy, hustle, fight? How much has that dropped off now compared to that 6-game winning streak? Well,
I think some of it is it's the ups and downs, ebbs and flows of a season. It's hard when you start losing a little bit. I think you that's when your character comes out, and either you're going to fight harder or you're going to kind of, oh man, maybe this is just who we are, right? And so, I know Coach Tang and his staff have the fight. Like they're not giving up on anything in the season. I'm sure they still believe, hey, there's still an opportunity for us to make the NCAA tournament. Yes, it's a slim chance, but hey, we can go win the Big 12 tournament. Like we have the components. We've shown that we can play well enough to beat any team in the conference. Why not us? Like they still have that mentality, and that is a coach's mentality. All coaches have. If you don't have that mentality as a coach, you shouldn't be coaching. Like, if you don't believe that you can go do something special, you shouldn't be coaching. And so I know he still has to fight. I think the players, hopefully they can still see that, hey, things have not went our way these last 4 games. We have an opportunity to get right against Colorado. We have to beat Colorado at home. We'll talk a little bit about them here in a minute. You go on the road against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been playing well at home. That's going to be a tough game. Then obviously you have senior night against Iowa State. Iowa State's going to be looking for revenge. They're kind of coming back around now, playing pretty well. And then it heads us into the Big 12 tournament. Big 12 tournament's in Kansas City. It's not a home game, but hey, we're going to have our fans there. Like it's going to be popping. It's going to be a nice atmosphere. And, our guys have to realize that no matter where you're at, every single game is important, not only for the season and just for the team, but even them individually. Like some of these guys have aspirations of playing after college. Well, you still have an opportunity to show what you can do and showcase, how good of a player you are, because there's agents, there's people watching that want to see what you can do. And so keeping the guys motivated to, hey, play your best basketball. And if we do that collectively as a team, we'll see what happens.
I know this team treats every game like it's its own season, but you go back to the Cincinnati game to open up Big 12 play in a game in which K-State won. Ever since then, it's been a winning streak or a losing streak. How much do you think past games and past results have lingered into upcoming games for this team?
Well, I think we've seen it as kind of a pattern, right? It's kind of happened with, especially when we go on the road and have to play and kind of some tough environments and losing one, and then the second game we just don't come out and play well enough, and this one we lost. We lost at home, and then that kind of lingered into the play on the road, and then it's a tough. I mean, the Big 12 is so tough, and it really doesn't matter what team it is. You have to be ready to play every single game. I'm talking about Colorado, and I'm saying that like we have to go win. Like it's Colorado, we have to go. They're 0-8 on the road all year, so this can't be the one that they win against us in Bramlett Coliseum, where we usually play pretty well. Tang has a good record at home, but that being said, if you're not ready to play, any team can beat any team in the Big 12. Like you're not playing against high schoolers, you're not playing against middle. Like you're playing against other Division I athletes who are all really good high school players who know how to play basketball, and so you have to be ready to play, and hopefully we don't allow these last 4 losses, right, to linger into our game against Colorado at home.
If you're watching on YouTube, you saw the thumbnail of this video. Buddy Rich saw the court for the first time since the game at Oklahoma State in Stillwater. Seems like forever ago, Clint. Obviously, I don't think any of us were expecting Rich to see the court, but I mean that's a good thing. He was an asset for Kansas State in that game against UCF.
Buddy is rich, man. Buddy is rich. I love Buddy. I love his game. I love his physicality. I love his how active he is. So it's good to see him on the floor. I think he can hopefully bring something, especially with we'll see how Hawkins' injury goes these last few games of the regular season. But I think one thing about Buddy is he's gonna play hard. He's gonna be physical. He's not gonna back down for anybody. He's not scared of anybody. And if we're lucky enough, he'll provide some energy with the dunker too. And so he's a good. Coach Tang kind of mentioned it. I don't know, behind the scenes what's kind of gone on with the situation. But Coach Tang has mentioned that, Buddy's grown up a lot over the last, month or so. And hopefully that will lead to him getting some opportunity on the floor as well.
Moving forward here over these next 3 games in the regular season and in the Big 12 tournament, what can Buddy Rich bring, even if Coleman Hawkins does return? What can he bring off the bench for Kansas State?
Well, I think he can be a little bit of an X factor, and then I think the last time we really saw him play was, Wichita State, where he kind of went off and shot the basketball from outside and made threes. And we're like, wait a second, Buddy's doing this, then there's nothing Buddy can't do, right? I mean, and so I think he'd be an X factor. Not that we need him, shooting threes, all the time, but hey, the occasional one is fine. And, he can mix it up. He's physical, so he can play, inside out. gives us another body against, bigger, stronger teams, especially when you think about teams like Iowa State who play really physical. You think about teams like Houston who play really physical. You think about KU, with Hunter Dickinson and who's physical. And so he gives us another body, I think, that could really help us, if nothing else, man, try to wear teams out and then just try to bring some of that physicality back to them.
A few minutes back, you mentioned finding that motivation, and guys have futures that they're kind of playing for. You're obviously a coach. How would you go about getting that message through to your team that, hey, our real goals are maybe in the Big 12 tournament in front of us to go to the NCAA tournament over these next 3 games, though, in the regular season? How do you get that message through to these guys where these games, let's be blunt, don't really mean anything?
Yeah, well, I think, what you want to see is heading into the Big 12 tournament, we kind of pick up some head of steam and start playing well again. So then we feel good about ourselves and our seed going into the Big 12 tournament, right? And so, last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where, you come out the gate on obviously Houston's going to be number 1, so they'll get the bye, but you fall into that 8 or 9 or whatever. I got to go back and look at how the seedings fall
right
now that have so many teams in the Big 12. But where you win one game and you got Houston that second game, and that's a team you really want to see on the opposite side. So we'll kind of need to look at how the seeding plays out and say what gives us the best opportunity to go far in the Big 12 tournament. I think Houston's probably the only team that I'd say, hey, we don't want to see early. We'd rather see them in the championship game if we're going to see them. Every other team I think we can play with if we play really well and just do what we need to do. And so, it's keeping those guys saying, hey, the season's not over. There's still goals in front of us. Yeah, the light is dim. Yeah, it might be, it might seem like we can't attain it, but I can tell you that it has been done before. There was a team last year with North Carolina State. Yeah, North Carolina State, that similar situation, right? Oh, there's no way they can, and here they go, make a Elite 8, Final 4, however far they went. And so, I would point to that. I would show them some films of what teams were saying to them. I'd probably call their coach and say, hey, I need to talk to you, and can I just share some words of wisdom to my team on what you shared last year with your team around this time, and hopefully the guys can respond positively.
1 through 4 seeds get a double bye, and then seeds 5 through 8 get just the single bye. So, I mean, that's if you're looking at something for Kansas City, these next 3 games, if you're trying to make a run, and winning 4 games in 4 days is hard. Winning 5 games in 5 days is harder. So to fight for that, one of those better seeds, right, that would matter. But I think you're going to probably have to win 2, maybe all 3 of these next 3 games. If you're Kansas State, that of course starts on Sunday, not Saturday, Sunday against Colorado. Back-to-back Sunday games, Clint. This is just weird. But what is K-State? What sticks out to you about this game against the Buffalo?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said about the top 8 seeds kind of get a bye. I'm sitting there looking at the standings here, and Baylor right now is number 8 at 8-9. West Virginia's 8-9 as well. Utah's 7-10. We're 7-10. Cincinnati 7-10. So that tells you that, hey, we still have an opportunity to get one of those byes, but we're gonna have to win some games here. Obviously, we can control our fate against Cincinnati. So we got to do that, and we got to take care of Colorado, and then hopefully we can get Iowa State to hopefully get into that 7 or 8 seed and get that bye. But as you look at Colorado, like as I mentioned, they're a team that kind of at the bottom of the Big 12 and in a lot of the standings. They don't score the ball very well. They give up I think the most points in the Big 12 as well, and so they have not won a true road game all season. So they are 0-8. All their road games have been in the Big 12. They did beat UConn early on in a neutral site game. So that's kind of their only, quote unquote road game, if you want to call it, even though there's neutral site game that they've won. So we got to make sure that we come out and have a lot of energy. Hopefully Hawkins plays, I think if he does, I think we should be shoo-in to win if we play well. If he doesn't, we're just going to need guys to step up. Max Jones stepped up our last game, scored the ball really well, was aggressive, but as I mentioned, I think we're going to need Doug to have a good game. Look for him to get to 15 or more against Colorado and their lack of defense, I should say. And if he could do that, then I think we'll win this basketball game. But guys got to be ready to protect the home court. We only got 2 more home games. This is the most important one right now.
They're a fly on the wall in practice over these last couple of days and leading into this Colorado game. How do you think it's how do you think it's been? Do you think it's been the same as any other practice, or given Tang's comments after that game against UCF, do you think there's a little more fire, more spark in that practice facility?
Well, I think the message is urgency, and I'm pretty sure Tang has pushed that onto the team, that this week within practice, and just the urgency that we have to play with from the very beginning of the game, not mid game, like the very beginning, and then sustaining that throughout the entire game against Colorado. And so, I think when I think about urgency, it's not just starting well, but even in practice, it's like everything that we do, I want you guys sprinting to spots. Like you're going to get a drink, go sprint to get a freaking drink. Like we have to have that mindset of everything is urgent and being persistent and getting there as quickly as we can. So then we can start the basketball game as quickly as we can. And so I'm sure that's what Tang has been preaching to the team after, this last loss against UCF. And hopefully we can come out and show that urgency from the very beginning of the game and not wait to get, punched in the mouth and then try to fight back.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to be the team that throws the first punch, but go punch for punch with your opponent early on. You can't be the team that punches back on the road. That's not going to win you many games. Against Cincinnati on Wednesday on the road, again, is this going to just come down to it's as simple as, hey, start fast, and that's the way to set the tone for a road victory?
Yeah, and Cincinnati plays pretty well at home, as most Big 12 teams do. I think if we beat Colorado, this could line up to be a really important game, like I mentioned, for us to get to that 8 seed is beating Cincinnati, because they'll probably be kind of right there with one of us having a shot at getting that 8 seed. And so, we're going to have to start fast. I think they have a few more offensive weapons, obviously, than what Colorado has. And so we're going to have to really defend. I thought when we played them here at home in Bramlage, we defended the heck out of them. Our guys really executed the game plan. And that's what we're going to have to do, because they have some guys that can shoot the basketball and they can score it. They are a little bit more of an older team. And so we're going to have to be ready to play. And that one, we're definitely going to need Coleman Hawkins. So hopefully by then, he's healthy enough to get out there on the court and be able to cause some mismatch problems and be able to distribute the basketball to help other guys get open shots.
Good stuff, Clint. One more thing I had jotted down here. CJ started against Arizona State. Ugo got the start against UCF. What are the pros and cons of those different lineups, and how would you do it if Coleman Hawkins is unable to go on Sunday against Colorado?
Yeah, well, CJ had a good game against Arizona State. I think he had 10 points or so, and played pretty well. He's active, obviously looks to score the basketball a little bit more, so gives us a little bit more offensive firepower when he's out there. I think I've always thought he could be a better defender. Just with his length and size as well. But I think from an offensive side, he gives us a little bit more scoring. I think Ugo, obviously from a defensive perspective, clogs the paint a little bit more, gives us more size. But I would like to see Ugo still just be a little bit more physical. I think when he's out there, it's you're out there to rebound the basketball and be physical, play in, play out, right? And so. If you get 20 minutes in the game, it's your size at 7 feet, you need to have seven rebounds. Like you got just have that kind of urgency of every single time the ball goes up, you have to go get it. And so I think that's what we need from him if he starts. I think against Colorado, we'll kind of see what Coach Tang decides to do. I think it can kind of go either way, but maybe we look at CJ again just for the offensive firepower and trying to start quickly. And then, but like I said, we started CJ and we scored 54 points. I say he gives us more offense, and just as a team, we didn't score the basketball. You start Ugo, we score, 70 or whatever. And so, whatever it was. So it's tit for tat. We'll kind of see what direction Tang wants to go.
You going to get out to Manhattan before Big 12 tournament, man? We keep talking about it.
Yeah. So I'll be there. I'll be inside at the Colorado game.
Cool.
So I'll be there for that one. And then next weekend as well, Iowa State at home on senior night, so I'll be there for that one. So looking forward to supporting the Cats.
Awesome. Well, hopefully they get to give you some wins in person. K-State takes on Colorado on Sunday, heads to Cincinnati on Wednesday. We'll be back here next Friday on the shoot-around as K-State returns home and hopefully can snap out of this current losing streak that it's in.
Thank you for watching the Friday Shoot-Around, sponsored by Riverbank Brewing. This has been a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production.